Welcome to the Astronomy Unit at the South Carolina Virtual School Program. Astronomy is the study of space. This includes planets, their moons, stars, and galaxies beyond our solar system. Please watch the following video, and I hope you find it as inspirational as I do as we begin the Astronomy Unit.
And just angle it a little bit down, like towards the line. There you go.
Like that? Okay. Fraser loves the rosette, so we always go to that when it's in view.
I love science. I love communicating and exploring about space and astronomy. I want other people to enjoy this stuff as much as I do. My first instinct is always to set up the telescope and go, you look first. So when Google Plus came out, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could get a telescope streaming an image right into the Hangout? And Mike's got just this monstrous telescope that he's built himself.
I hadn't even done a Hangout yet. I'm like, this actually sounds really intriguing, right? It's telescopes, it's computers. Let's figure this out, let's try it.
He emailed me and he said, I think I've got it working. And he invited me into a Hangout, and there it was. You know, there was the moon. I was hanging out with the moon. That was when I knew we could do anything. You know, let's get more telescopes, let's get different points of view.
Everyone, this is Umair.
Hi, Umair.
He's based in Pakistan, and then we've got Peter, who is in Australia.
We're getting people from Mexico and South America and South Africa, Malaysia.
Hey, there's Pamela.
Hey, Fraser.
And now suddenly, there is a way, with almost no effort, we're able to bring all these people together and put on a show.
Too close.
Everyone good to go?
Good
I'm gonna click on Start Broadcast. We're public in 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. Once again, we're gonna have our virtual star party. Working the telescopes tonight, we've got Stuart Foreman. He's the one showing us the moon right now. We've got Gary Ganella. What's your view, Gary?
The monkey head, it's in the upper part of Orion.
That's really cool.
If we were looking at this image in color, what we'd see is this is a beautiful red number.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, I think everyone's ready but Mike.
Here we go.
And no pressure, Mike. Oh, I think I see something. Can you move it a little down, Mike? There it is. Oh, man. Look at that. Don't ever change cameras, please.
Just in being in contact with these people, just talking to people. Some that you don't know, that you're getting to know, even though they're 3 time zones and thousands of miles away.
Somebody to share with. You know, it's nice when I look at my pictures and know I did it. It's wonderful, but to share it with somebody.
Being able to look out into space gives us context for how we live in our day-to-day experience. It shows us that we're part of this bigger universe.
All right, so Gary, you've got the rosette for me.
I do.
I mean, for us, for everyone to see, not just me.
Don't kid us. It's for you, Fraser.
It's for me, yeah.
Now we have Saturn is green. You guys are just into it. Tech.
Welcome, students, to our astronomy unit. And we're starting off the unit by interviewing a person by the name of Mike Phillips, who actually is an astronomer. He has a bachelor's of astronomy from SUNY in New York, and he has a blog which you can take a look at, where you'll be able to see some great photos and some upcoming events in astronomy. He also works at Cisco as a solutions tester. Thank you, Mike, for joining me today in a Google Hangout.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Great. All right, I want to start off today by asking you some questions. Tell me, what made you decide to start studying astronomy?
So when I was little, maybe junior high age, it was a bit of a hobby. My folks got me inspired in it. And in high school, I had a good guidance counselor that asked all the right questions. And I did a little digging around and found out that you can make a career out of it. You can go to school and do astronomy. And I said, hey, this sounds cool, right? You can marry your hobby to your career. That's the way to go. So I ended up going to school for it through just asking the right questions of the guidance counselor.
Great. What was it astronomy in college, what kind of courses did you have to take?
So astronomy has a whole series of things from electromagnetism to gas and dust and all sorts of things. And then there's related to the astronomy end of the business is a lot of physics. So it's sometimes you call it astrophysics, and there's a lot of mechanics and a lot of you learn about molecules and nuclear forces and that sort of things. And then there's a lot of concepts in the science end. There's a lot of concepts in physics, and there's also a lot of math that ends up being a part of that too. I wasn't so strong with the math, but definitely the concepts from physics and astronomy were definitely cool. Learned a lot of neat stuff.
So at SUNY in New York, do they have a great observatory there to observe the night sky? Was that part of your coursework?
Yes, and that was actually a really cool thing about going and studying something like this is they had a 14-inch telescope on the roof of the Earth and Space Sciences building, and I was lucky enough to work as an undergrad research assistant helping a grad student write his thesis. So he's doing a thesis on like brown dwarfs or something like that. And so we got to, use a telescope that at the time when you're in college and, coming out of high school was, huge and just monstrous. So it was a nice experience. So we got to do, research with graphs and all that kind of stuff.
Since you start studying astronomy, what's your most awe-inspiring moment?
So my most awe-inspiring moment, you would think it would be something related to like an event like a lunar eclipse or, just this past year we had the Venus transit, if people were watching the Venus transit. Those are exciting, but there's usually a lot of anticipation that's built up to those things. So for me, it's usually something along the lines of an unexpected moment, right? Like that meteor that leaves a huge streak across the sky, we'll call it a bolide. Those are the kinds of things that you're not looking for, that you just go, wow, right? There's moments when you're outside looking at through your telescope and trying to make the equipment work, and you just kind of lean back and you just feel the stillness of the night air, and you look at the vastness of everything, and it just goes and hits you, and you're like, wow. There are moments when I'm looking through the telescope and the atmosphere just stops and it's very steady and still, and you can see everything in all this detail and all this exquisiteness, and you're just mind blown.
So you sound so passionate about that. It's a wonderful response. My next question is, when you take a look at your blog, you can see these amazing photos on there. How did you link together astronomy with photography?
So it's funny, my dad's a professional photographer, and he taught me a lot about optics and about cameras and exposures and things like that, but it was not something that I had used when I started in astronomy. And when I was grown up and got a decent-sized telescope for myself, I would go out and regularly observe Mars, and then I would go and look online and look at comparable-sized telescopes and comparable equipment, and I said, how come I can't see these things? And part of the reason was the using a camera to take a picture is more sensitive than your eyes, and that's kind of that moment where I said, okay, I'm going to do this too, so that I can record these things and see better details and kind of get more of an experience out of my equipment. So using your eyes, you definitely get to see things that you don't see with a camera, and vice versa. So it's kind of this endeavor to get more and squeeze more out of my telescope that sent me down that route. And so I took some of the knowledge my dad had given me and did a lot of research to try to figure out how to use the camera in a telescope. And it's definitely a whole different experience going that direction.
Right. So this sort of leads me into my next question. Many of us take our pictures with our smartphones, and we use Instagram now, and we upload our pictures to the web. How is taking a picture with a camera in astronomy different than possibly just the way that we all normally use our smartphones to take pictures?
Right. So part of the differences stem from the fact that you're taking pictures of very faint and dim objects. So when you're seeing nighttime photography, that in and of itself is different too. So you have to take longer exposures to get that light into the camera and then record it either onto the film or onto the camera's CCD. And so you end up having to have objects that sit still. Like most nebula and galaxies don't move around a lot. Like when you're at a sporting event, things are zipping all over the place, so you can't take long exposures. So there's kind of a whole different discipline and a whole different aspect of how you do these things. And planetary is even more different than that. So.
Okay, great. My students that are interested in astronomy for the first time by taking this course, what kind of telescope would you recommend them to purchase if they're getting interested in starting to look at the night sky?
Right. That's always a tricky question because you can get real inexpensive commercial grade telescopes that don't tend to be the greatest quality. So it depends on your level of commitment to something. If you really just want to sort of explore what's out there, the department store telescope is probably a good starting place. But ultimately, if you think you could be serious about it, that's something you could easily get frustrated with. The quality on those leaves you kind of with an empty experience if you're looking to get more out of it. So maybe go a level or two above that. I would say a good starting class telescope that isn't going to kill your bank account. It's probably like a 2 to a 4-inch telescope range. And those are definitely something you'll get a lot more experience out of. You'll be able to see more. So the larger the telescope size, the more light it's going to grab, almost like catching water with a bucket, right? You're going to catch more water with a bigger bucket. So you'll see more in a larger telescope.
Great. Now, reading your blog, or I think some pictures online that I viewed, I read somewhere that you actually made your own telescope. That is completely amazing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that or share some experiences with that?
Sure. I liken it to building something with Legos more than actually building something like with a hammer and using your own hands. So it's a very specialized field that people will make mirrors, and that's all they do. And then you can go and buy other components from other places. And so I bought all these things online. I did a lot of research, and then just kind of screwed all the pieces together. I didn't really set out to do that as something that I'm like really good at. I knew that I couldn't get what I wanted from a regular commercial telescope. And I see other people online that are building their own telescopes. I said, maybe I can do that too. So I kind of just committed to it. I said, let me do some research on it and figure out how I can make this work. And kind of went through all the steps and was pretty pleased with the result. But I never really thought of myself as a do-it-yourself amateur telescope maker. So it was definitely an experience.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment to make your own telescope. Pretty amazing.
Thank you.
For those students that are starting to view or decide that they want to go outside and view the night sky, where do they start? Now, the moon is the most obvious thing to start looking at, but where should they go next, and how do they know what to look for or what they're looking at?
Right. So for me, I went from the moon to planets because planets tend to be brighter than most stars, and they're fairly easy to find. Nowadays, there's a lot of great resources that help you find constellations and star clusters and things like that. When I was little, I had to go read the newspaper and get books from the library. Now you can go online and research where are the constellations, where are the bright objects to look at, and things like that. And then there's a lot of good software packages either on your mobile device or your computer that are freeware and open source tools that'll help you do star simulations, and you can zoom in on objects and find out where they are and when they rise, and what time of the season is the best to find the Orion Nebula and those kinds of things.
I would love for you to share some of those with me so that I could share those with students so that maybe
Definitely.
they can possibly download and take a look at them. And I'm sure you've probably got an opportunity to review a few of those so that find certain ones are better than others. So definitely share those resources with me so I can share that with my students.
Absolutely, yes.
Last but not least, since your photos are so amazing, how do you go about developing those? You don't go down to your local CVS to get them developed, do you?
No. If I'm not hanging on the wall, I will. But typically, they're digitally acquired. So you'll use a digital SLR or a small webcam video camera to take the pictures, and then you process them. So there's a whole processing steps that you go through, and there's kind of an artistic end to this. So depending upon what it looks like, you'll do a lot of photoshopping to make it look, I guess like the magazine cover models look nowadays, right? They take all the blemishes out and they erase all the little things they don't like. Right? So you'll end up taking these things and stretching them, and so you won't see online what you see with your eye. And that's partly because of all the work that goes into making these things look prettier, I guess. And you'll see colors online that you don't see with your eye in the telescope. And part of that is the camera, and part of that is also enhancing the saturation and the vibrance and stretching the levels and all sorts of things that go into it. It's almost like cooking or any kind of art where you're going to say, oh, I like the way this looks versus that. But ultimately, some of it's not real that you would see with your eye. And that's in part why I got into to photography, because you can do a lot more than you would normally see with your eyes.
So it must take a lot of research and a lot of practice and a lot of years of being involved with it to be that good at it, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of a never-ending endeavor, because there's always new tools that are out there, and some of them actually came from NASA. Some of the tools and techniques are developed by Hubble, and so they're used by amateurs now, like myself and the whole community of people that use all these drizzling and all these different techniques. It's pretty cool.
Wow, that's really amazing. To be able to do such beautiful pictures. Have any of your pictures been published by chance in a magazine or anything like that?
Yeah, I hesitate to say published, because to me published is an old school being in a book or a magazine. But there's been some blog entries through the Universe Today and Discovery Magazine online blog series that have picked up on some of my work. There was some pictures of Jupiter that I had, like rotating animations and those kinds of cool things that were picked up by Universe Today. This past year was a good year for comets. I observed, I think, 3 comets that came out, and one was written up by Universe Today, another one was in Discovery Magazine, and then I think this year, I haven't gotten any yet, but I think this year there's going to be more comets, so we'll see if they pick up on my work again. But yeah, it's kind of neat to see. I love taking pictures for myself, and I love sharing it with other people so they can see it too. But it's extra special when somebody recognizes that it's work that's good enough to be shared on their venue for blogs or what have you.
Wow,
neat.
So it sounds like some really exciting stuff will be happening in the year to come in the night sky.
Yeah.
Speaking of a great way to view the night sky is through Google Plus and their virtual star parties. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when Google Plus came out, they what we're using now is this Hangout, which is kind of this multi-party video conference of sorts. And so one of the guys at Universe Today, Fraser Kane, said, what if we took the camera and instead of pointing it at us, we plugged it into the telescope? And so what you get at a normal star party is everybody puts their telescopes in close proximity, and then you walk around looking at all the different telescopes. So what we did is we brought this to the internet and said, hey, look at this. You can plug your camera into your telescope, and now everybody can see it, and you get different views. So it's pretty neat, because some people will share a nighttime view, and then people on the other side of the world will have a view of the sun. And so you can be, in one spot looking online. In the course of an hour, you can see things that are in the morning, things that are in the evening, things that are in the daytime. And so this is pretty fun. So we do those on Sunday night, and we vary the time throughout the year depending upon when it gets dark. And I think there's a schedule, and we'll put maybe some links in the description bar for people to go and find these things.
Right, and all you need is basically just a Google account, and then click on your name in the corner, and basically start taking a look at Google Plus, and then search it out, right?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for sharing your knowledge with us today in the world of astronomy. I think you make it a lot more real for my students and a lot more exciting to actually speak to an expert in the field. I'm very, truly honored and humbled to have met with you today in a Google Hangout. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you more and seeing some other things on your blog, and great pictures ahead for you.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share with everybody, and feel free to find me for anything. You guys, if you have questions, funnel it over. Let me know.
All right, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.